Hi there, and welcome back to Reddit Confessions. If this is your first time here, buckle up, because tonight's story, let's just say, it starts with a hotel elevator ding, a trembling hand holding a cocktail glass, and a woman who should have chosen her lies more carefully. She didn't see me at first. I was sitting in one of those awkward little lobby chairs, you know the ones. Overstuffed, squeaky leather, positioned for aesthetics, not comfort. I had no business being there. And yet, there I was, surrounded by overpriced orchid arrangements and soft jazz, pretending to check emails, but really waiting for the sound of an elevator bell. I didn't know what I'd do when it rang. Honestly, I didn't know why I was there. Okay, that's a lie. I knew exactly why. 10 minutes earlier, my wife had sent a text. Working late again, don't wait up. Only she wasn't at the office. She was at the Whitmore, a boutique hotel downtown. I'd seen it on the shared location we'd long forgotten we even had active. She never turned it off. I never stopped checking. So now I was here, in that ridiculous lobby, my legs shaking, hard in my throat. I told myself I was being paranoid, that she was meeting a client, that it was innocent, that I wasn't about to unravel our entire life based on a dot on a map. And then the elevator dinged. I looked up. Out she stepped. Lauren, my wife, wearing the same black blazer she always wore for big meetings, only this time, with red lipstick she claimed she hated. Her hair was up, her smile was wide, and her hand was interlocked with his. He wasn't her boss. He wasn't a colleague. He wasn't carrying a briefcase. He was carrying her coat, like a gentleman, like someone who knew he'd be spending the night. And Lauren? She was laughing, carefree, effortless, the same laugh I hadn't heard in months. She turned toward the bar, not seeing me, until he leaned in to whisper something in her ear, something that made her giggle and tilt her head, and she glanced toward the lobby, and froze. Our eyes met. Everything stopped. Her body stiffened like a mannequin. Her mouth parted, but nothing came out. The color drained from her face so fast I swear I heard it leave. She looked like she'd seen a ghost, or maybe the husband she forgot she still had. I stood up. I didn't say a word. Not at first. The man beside her noticed me and followed her stare. He leaned toward her, whispering, "Who's that?" She blinked, twice, like if she didn't answer, the moment would vanish. So I answered for her. Her husband. The words fell out of my mouth before I realized I was saying them. The man stepped back. Lauren stepped nowhere. She just stood there, mouth open, panic on her face, silence pouring from her lips like ash. She didn't even try to explain. And that silence? That was louder than any excuse she could have thrown at me. But the real story? It's what she said once we were alone. What I found in her purse. What I recorded without her knowing. And yes, there's more. So much more. I didn't plan to walk out. I didn't even feel my feet move beneath me. 1 second I was standing in the middle of that pristine lobby, glass chandeliers above me, elevator behind me, my wife's frozen face staring back at me like I'd caught her mid-sentence in a lie she didn't rehearse, and the next second I was outside. In the cold, breathing like I had just sprinted a mile. I didn't slam any doors. I didn't shout. I just left, because I couldn't trust my voice not to crack, or worse, say something I could never take back. The street outside the Whitmore smelled like wet asphalt and late-night regret. I paced to the edge of the block, jacket open, hands shaking like I'd downed 5 cups of coffee. My heart wasn't just pounding. It was pulsing, like it was trying to escape. And yet, part of me still didn't believe what I saw. Part of me was still trying to wake up. That's when I heard the click of heels behind me. "Curtis, wait." I stopped. My shoulders tensed. I didn't turn around. Lauren's voice wavered, uncertain, like she didn't know which version of me she was calling out to. The husband who brought her tea when she had migraines, or the man who just saw her walk out of an elevator with a stranger's hand around hers. "Curtis, please." "I can explain," she said. I turned. Slowly. Her lipstick was still perfect. Her blouse barely wrinkled. But her eyes, they were wide, terrified. Like a child caught stealing but too proud to cry. "Explain what?" I asked, voice hoarse. "The meeting you forgot to hold at an actual office?" She hesitated, lips parting, then closing again. Her eyes darted toward the hotel behind us, where the man, her mystery companion, hadn't followed. He had the good sense to disappear, at least. "It's not what it looks like," she said. And God help me, I laughed. Not a normal laugh. The broken, bitter kind that doesn't feel real even while it's happening. Because how many times had I read that line online? In stories about cheaters? In memes? In movies? Only now it wasn't fiction. It was my wife saying it to me. You kissed him, I said quietly. That's what it looks like. She blinked hard. Curtis, I swear, it's complicated. He's not who you think. Really? I cut in. Because I think he's the guy you've been texting when you said you were answering emails. I think he's the guy who called you baby 2 weeks ago when he forgot you were on speaker. I think he's the reason I've been eating dinner alone for the past month. The silence that followed could have shattered glass. I saw it then. Her face, contorting into something between guilt and fear. And that's when she said it. The line that made something in me break. I didn't mean for it to happen. I took a step back. It wasn't fear. It was clarity. Everything made sense. The cold hugs. The distant smiles. The canceled plans. And now she stood there, trying to rewind a bomb she already detonated. You didn't mean for it to happen, I repeated, quieter now. Do you think that makes it better? Tears welled in her eyes, but I didn't move. I didn't comfort her. I didn't offer her a tissue like I always used to. I just stood there and watched the woman I thought I knew become someone I didn't recognize. She reached out, reflexively, as if habit might fix what she broke. I stepped back. I need to go, I said. Curtis, please, just come with me and let's talk, okay? Just give me a chance to explain everything. I looked at her hand, still hovering in the air, waiting for mine to take it. And then I looked past her, toward the hotel, toward the doorman awkwardly avoiding eye contact, toward the glowing red sign of the lobby bar, where they probably shared drinks and secrets and stories that never belonged to me. No, I said. Not tonight. I walked away. My hands were cold. My throat burned. But I didn't stop. Not when she called my name. Not when she said, please don't do this. Because I wasn't doing this. She had already done it. And me? I was just finally catching up. I didn't sleep that night. Not even a minute. I tried. God, I tried. I laid in bed with the lights off, staring at the ceiling like it might explain something to me. The pillow still smelled like her conditioner, jasmine and coconut. My side of the bed felt too wide, like the mattress was mocking me for believing it still belonged to a couple. I kept turning over, hoping I'd wake up from whatever dream I had walked into. But reality kept slapping me in the face with every blink. Around 5 a.m., I gave up and wandered down the hall to the kitchen. The silence in the house was unbearable. No coffee machine humming. No footsteps. No phone alarms or hairdryers. Just this awful stillness, like the house itself knew she hadn't come home. I sat at the kitchen table for a while. Just sat there. No lights. Just me and the faint buzz of the refrigerator. Then my eyes landed on her work bag. She'd thrown it on the counter 2 days ago and never unpacked it. I remember because I moved it to make space for dinner, and she said, "Don't go through my stuff. I've got contracts in there." I hadn't touched it since. Until now. I know what you're thinking. And yeah, I felt like trash for even thinking about it. But let's be honest. Trust had already left this marriage, and it didn't even have the decency to close the door behind itself. Inside the bag, receipts from a sushi place we'd never been to together, 2 lipstick tubes I didn't recognize, and her work laptop. The laptop. I didn't even hesitate. I opened it. The screen lit up, asking for a password. My hands were already trembling. Not because I didn't know it, but because I did, or thought I did. Her password used to be Curtis Loves 88. I helped her set it up when she first got the job. But now, it didn't work. Wrong password. I tried again. Then again. Nothing. That was the first real gut punch of the day. She hadn't just locked me out of her life emotionally. She'd literally locked me out digitally. I stared at the login screen for a full minute before trying something absurd. Something that made me feel pathetic just typing it. Harrison 23. It worked. The laptop unlocked, and my heart sank like a brick through wet concrete. Harrison. I didn't know a Harrison. Not in our friend group. Not in her family. Not in her office. But clearly she did. The desktop loaded slowly, cluttered, chaotic. She always said she'd clean it up one day. I scanned the folders. Invoices, pitch decks, vacation ideas. Then one caught my eye. A folder named Miscellaneous Edits. Generic. Harmless. Until I opened it. Inside were screenshots. Dozens of them. Of messages. Chats. Notes. And then images. Photos from hotel rooms, restaurant tables, blurry selfies that weren't supposed to be blurry. Lauren's face, laughing in the background. a man's arm around her shoulder. One shot of her resting her head against someone's chest. Not mine. I stared at the screen, frozen. Every image loaded like a new blade slicing through a version of me that still wanted to believe she loved me. I clicked on a video. My stomach turned as I saw her, sitting at a bar, the same bar from the Whitmore. She was talking to someone off camera, smiling in that way that used to make me believe I was the luckiest guy alive. I swear, he still thinks I'm just overworked, she said with a chuckle. It's like, I don't know. I don't even have to lie that hard. The man laughed, off camera. That's because you're too good at it, he said. She sipped her drink. Then, I'm just not ready to blow everything up yet. Not until I know this is real. The video ended. And with it, something inside me did too. I sat there for another hour. I didn't cry. I couldn't. I just kept replaying her words, over and over, like my mind was trying to find a loophole in them. A way to reframe them so they hurt less. But there wasn't one. The woman I loved, the woman I trusted, wasn't trying to figure out how to save our marriage. She was calculating how to exit it quietly. The sun was barely up when I shut the laptop and pushed it across the table like it had burned me. I felt numb. But not the kind of numb where you're protected. The kind where you're wide awake inside your own body, feeling everything, just too frozen to react. I didn't know what to do next. Should I pack her things? Call her mother? Confront her at work? Drive to that hotel and find the guy whose name she turned into her password? Instead, I sat there, still in last night's hoodie, eyes red, mouth dry. I hadn't spoken to anyone in almost 12 hours. Not a word. Not even to myself. And that's when I heard the sound of her keys in the door. Click. I looked up like I was watching a horror movie in real time. I didn't even realize how fast my heart was beating until the door opened and Lauren stepped inside, cheerful and casual, like it was just another Thursday morning. She was humming to herself, carrying a coffee cup, wearing the same black blazer. She hadn't even changed clothes. Her smile froze the second she saw me, sitting there, in silence, with her laptop open and facing me. She stopped mid-step, the door still half open behind her. Her hand gripped the strap of her purse like it was the only thing holding her upright. I didn't speak. Not yet. I just watched the gears turning behind her eyes. That split-second math of whether to run, lie, confess, or cry. Curtis, she said softly. You scared me. I thought you had work today. I tilted my head slowly and nodded toward the laptop. I watched the video, I said. Her eyes darted to the screen. She didn't ask which video. She didn't have to. Everything in her deflated. She shut the door slowly and stood there in the entryway, like she was waiting for the floor to swallow her. Okay, she whispered. I guess we're doing this. Doing what, Lauren? I snapped. My voice cracked. I hated that it cracked. Having the conversation you've been rehearsing behind my back. The one where you tell me I'm a great guy, but you've changed and life is complicated and you didn't mean to hurt me. She looked away. I stood up. My legs ached from sitting too long in one position, but I couldn't stay still anymore. You used his name as your password, I said. You called me paranoid when I asked if something felt off. You told me not to go through your bag. You told me I was imagining things. You told me to trust you. I didn't mean for it to get that far. Oh, save it, I interrupted. You didn't mean for it? You went to a hotel with him, Lauren. That's not oops. I tripped and fell onto another man's chest. That's a choice. She finally met my eyes. And there was no more pretending. No more half-truths. Just this raw, guilty weight behind her stare. I didn't go there to sleep with him, she said. I laughed again, this time almost choking on it. Then what? To network? I went there to figure things out. To talk. It's not like you've been present lately. My mouth dropped open. Oh, so now it's my fault. I'm not saying that, she said quickly. I'm saying things have been broken for a while. I shook my head. No, you've been broken. I've been here. Making dinners. Cleaning up. Trying to plan date nights you never showed up for. I was fighting for us, Lauren. You were already writing our eulogy. That's when she cried. Really cried. And as pathetic as it sounds, that crushed me too. Because for a stupid moment, I still wanted to comfort her. The part of me that loved her, the part she hadn't completely killed yet, still flinched when she broke down. I never wanted it to end like this, she whispered through tears. Then you shouldn't have started it like that, I said, motioning to the laptop. She wiped her face, sat down, and went quiet. We sat like that for a few minutes, not as husband and wife, but as two strangers who just happened to wear wedding bands that no longer meant anything. Finally, she said, "So what now?" And I answered honestly, "I don't know," I said. "But I'm done living in the version of this marriage where I'm the only one still showing up." I didn't expect him to answer. Honestly, when I found his number in her call log, part of me just stared at it for minutes. I had his name, too. Not just the first, Harrison, but the full contact. Harrison P. With a smiling emoji. I guess she thought that'd be cute. Or private. Or maybe she never imagined I'd be the one scrolling through her iCloud synced call history, documenting every late-night conversation she ever passed off as work stress. At first, I didn't even know what I wanted to say. There's no guide for texting your wife's affair partner. Do I threaten him? Ask him questions? Blame him for everything she destroyed? I must have rewritten the message 10 times before I hit send. "Hey, this is Curtis, Lauren's husband. I know everything." Then I waited. And waited. I left my phone on the table and paced the living room. I kept glancing toward the hallway, where Lauren had shut herself in the guest room, claiming she needed space to think. Space. After 9 years together, she needed space? It took almost an hour before the reply came. When my phone lit up, my stomach dropped. "Curtis, I figured this might happen. Can we talk? I owe you the truth." I wasn't ready for that. Not the calmness. Not the decency. Not the weird, almost respectful tone. I didn't reply right away. I was still too wound up, waiting for him to gloat or deny everything. But instead, he followed up. "It's not what you think. I didn't know she was married at first. And when I found out, well, I thought she was separating from you." That's what she told me. That's when my hands started shaking again. I sat down, heart racing, mind spinning. She told him we were separating? While I was still kissing her goodnight. While I was planning anniversary dinners she never showed up to. I replied. She never mentioned separation to me. We still shared a bed. She kissed me goodbye the day she met you at the Whitmore. 3 dots appeared. Then stopped. Then appeared again. Then came the response. "Curtis, I'm sorry. I don't know what to say. I'm not proud of it. I should have walked away when I found out. I really should have." I didn't want to humanize him. I didn't want to picture him as a guy who got duped, too. But something in my gut twisted. Because as much as I wanted a villain, a cartoonish enemy to throw all my pain at, this message was calm, measured, and worse, truthful. "Did you love her?" I asked. The pause was longer this time. I could practically feel the weight of it. I thought I might. But I was in love with the version of her that told me she was healing, that she was honest. I didn't know I was a detour in someone else's marriage. I don't know why, but that made me feel sicker than anything Lauren had said so far. Because at least with Lauren, I could chalk it up to betrayal, to something breaking between us. But now there was this other man, this third party, who had built a fantasy on top of my collapsed reality. I asked one more thing. "Are you still seeing her?" His reply came almost immediately. "No, not after last night. When she panicked after seeing you, it hit me. I didn't sign up for secrets and shadows. I'm out." I stared at those 3 words. I'm out. I couldn't stop thinking about them. Because I wasn't. I was still very much in. Still sitting in the ruins. Still trying to make sense of a life that had cracked at the seams without a single explosion. Just quiet, constant erosion. The worst part? Lauren didn't even know I'd messaged him. She was still locked in the guest room, probably imagining how she'd spin this into something survivable, something forgivable. But that last message from Harrison did something to me. It didn't make me hate him less. It just made me hate the lies more. It was almost noon when she came out. I heard the creak of the guest room door and the soft shuffle of her bare feet across the hardwood floor. For a minute, I stayed perfectly still on the couch, my eyes glued to a muted cooking show I wasn't even watching. She stood in the doorway like she was waiting for permission to enter her own life. She looked different, not physically, but something in her posture. She wasn't angry, wasn't defensive. She looked hollow, like someone who had finally realized there was no walking backward out of a fire. I didn't say anything. I didn't move. I just waited to see what she'd do. She crossed the room slowly, sat on the edge of the chair across from me, and folded her hands in her lap like a child at confession. No eye contact. "I'm sorry," she whispered. I didn't answer. Not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't know how. What did she think sorry was going to undo? "I read the messages," she added quietly. "That got my attention." "You what?" I asked. She glanced up, guilt in her eyes. "I saw the text with Harrison. On your phone. I just wanted to know what you knew." I felt my jaw tighten. She had the audacity to go through my phone after everything? You're unbelievable, I muttered. You cheat. You lie. You shut me out. And now you're snooping? I wasn't trying to hide it anymore, she said quickly. I panicked. I didn't know what you'd do. What I'd do. I snapped. You were worried about me? After all the lies? The sneaking around? The folder on your laptop full of your secret life? I know, she said, voice cracking. I know I messed up. I don't have an excuse. I'm not going to insult you by pretending I didn't betray you. That silenced me again. Because for the first time, it wasn't denial. It wasn't dodging. It was just surrender. She took a breath and looked at me fully, eyes red, hands shaking. I want to fix it, she said. I blinked. Fix it. She nodded, swallowing hard. I want to go to therapy. I want us to go. I want to be honest now. If you let me. If there's anything left to save. I stared at her, stunned. Therapy. That was her offer. That was her plan. After months of gaslighting, lies, and secret hotel meetings, she wanted to talk it out in front of a stranger with a clipboard. Why now? I asked bitterly. Because he walked away? Because you lost your backup plan? No, she said instantly. Curtis, no. I wanted out of that before you even found out. I didn't love him. It was stupid. It was selfish. I was in a dark place, and I didn't talk to you about it. And instead of facing it, I ran to something that felt easy. I thought it was helping me feel alive, but all it did was destroy everything. I rubbed my face, feeling the weight of 1,000 memories crash down at once. Birthdays, road trips, that one anniversary in the cabin with the broken heater, the time we adopted our dog together. And now here we were, on opposite sides of a living room, negotiating the terms of our own collapse. I don't know what I want, I said truthfully. She nodded slowly. I get that. I wouldn't trust me either. But if there's a sliver of you that thinks this can be repaired, I'm here. For real. I'll delete everything. I'll answer anything. I'll go wherever you need me to go. That was when she reached into her hoodie pocket and pulled out a piece of paper. I stared at it, confused. It's a letter, she said. I started writing it last night, before you texted him. I didn't know how else to start owning this. But I want you to have it. I took it. I didn't open it. I just stared at the folded corners, feeling the paper vibrate slightly in my hand because of how hard I was trembling. She stood up and stepped back. I'm going to go for a walk. I'll leave my phone here. I'm not running. I just need air. I didn't stop her. I watched her slip on shoes and walk out the door, leaving the air behind her dense with everything unspoken. I sat there for a long time, the letter still in my hand. I didn't open it right away. Not because I didn't want to know, but because part of me was afraid of what it might do. If it would bring clarity, or just make the pain sharper. I was still deciding whether her sudden honesty was a sign of real remorse, or just damage control dressed up in guilt. I stared at that letter for what must have been an hour. It sat on the coffee table in front of me, folded twice, slightly creased at the corner like it had been stuffed into her hoodie pocket without much care. It wasn't dramatic looking, no lipstick kiss on the seal, no perfume, no tears staining the edge. Just a single sheet of lined paper pulled from a notebook we kept in the kitchen junk drawer, written in her handwriting. The same handwriting that used to leave me notes on my windshield when she packed my lunch for work. Back then, those notes said things like, "You're going to crush today?" Or, "Dinner's on me tonight, babe." Now I didn't know what she was going to say, but I unfolded the letter anyway, and I read every word. Curtis, by the time you read this, I'll have already hurt you. There's no way around that. I can't undo what I did. I can't soften it with apologies. And if I tried, I'd only be protecting myself. I want you to know this first. You didn't deserve any of it. You were good to me. Steady, loyal, safe. And maybe that's part of the problem, not with you, but with how broken I've become. I started confusing safe with invisible. I started blaming you for the emptiness I created for myself. I wasn't looking to cheat. It wasn't planned. I met someone who listened, and I mistook that attention for affection. I mistook his interest for value. It was selfish. It was cowardly. When he asked about you, I lied. I said we were separating. I didn't want to be seen as the villain, even though I knew I was becoming one. I wasn't honest with him, and I wasn't honest with myself. The truth is, I thought I could live in both worlds, keep you while tasting freedom. But all I did was lose both. I didn't sleep with him. I need you to know that. I kissed him, yes. I lied, yes. But I stopped it from going further. I won't ask you to believe that, but it's the truth. I've never seen you look at me the way you did last night. You didn't yell. You didn't collapse. You didn't beg. You just walked away. And I felt the weight of every step like a nail in my own coffin. I still love you. But I broke us. And if this is goodbye, I'll carry that with me for the rest of my life. But if it's not goodbye, if there's anything left in your heart that hasn't burned to ash, I want to start again. Not from the top, but from the rubble. I'll do whatever you ask. I'll tell you everything. I'll follow your pace. And if at the end of that, you still walk away, I'll understand. Just please don't let this be the last thing you read from me. L. By the time I finished reading, my hands were trembling. Not from anger. Not from heartbreak. From exhaustion. From the sheer weight of trying to carry two truths at once. 1. She was sorry. Deeply. Probably more than I expected. 2. She still did it. And I couldn't unknow it. I couldn't unsee her stepping out of that elevator. I couldn't unhear the video from her laptop. I couldn't unread the words. I started confusing safe with invisible. Was that what I was to her? A human seatbelt? Something functional and necessary until she didn't feel like buckling up anymore? I folded the letter slowly. Not neatly. Just enough to keep it from staring back at me. Then I heard the front door open. Lauren walked in with red eyes and windblown hair. She looked at me like she already knew the verdict. Like she was walking into a courtroom waiting on the judge's final sentence. I read it, I said. She didn't speak. Just stood there, her hands at her sides like she was ready to take whatever was coming. It was honest, I added. More than I expected. She blinked, then asked quietly, "Do you believe me?" I wanted to say yes. I wanted to say no. But instead, I said the only thing I really knew to be true. I don't know what I believe anymore. But I know I'm tired of feeling like a backup plan in my own marriage. Her face contorted. She started crying again, quietly this time, like she didn't want to make it worse. But the damage wasn't in the noise. It was in the silence between us. It was in the weight of everything that had already happened and couldn't be undone. I can't decide anything today, I finally said. Not while I'm still bleeding from it. She nodded. I'll stay at my sister's tonight, she whispered. You need space. I'll give it to you. And she left. No kiss. No hug. Just a slow walk to the door, like she wasn't sure if she'd ever walk back in again. And me? I just sat there, feeling the absence even more than I'd felt her betrayal. Because now, for the first time, the house was quiet for real. The house stayed quiet for 2 full days. No texts from her. No calls. Just absence. The kind that echoed. I kept walking past her coffee mug on the counter like it was a ghost, still half clean from the dishwasher cycle she never emptied. Our dog, Ollie, kept waiting by the front door at 6 p.m. because that's when she used to come home. He didn't understand why the door didn't open anymore. Neither did I, but it gave me space. Time to breathe. Time to sit with the truth, not just react to it. I replayed everything. The meeting, the elevator, the message from Harrison, the letter, the tears, the silence. I didn't want to be bitter anymore. I didn't want to build my life around suspicion or misery. I wanted clarity, not revenge, not shame, just peace. And then came the message, not from Lauren, not from Harrison, but from her sister. It was short, simple, just this. She's really broken, Kurt. I'm not defending what she did, but she hasn't slept. She hasn't eaten. She keeps reading that letter over and over. She's scared to hope, but she won't give up unless you say it's truly over. Just thought you should know. I sat with that for a long while. And for the first time, I didn't feel like a victim. I felt like someone at a crossroads. I had power again, not over her, but over my own next step. So I made a decision. That evening, I called her. I told her to come by. Not to beg, not to fix, just to talk. When she arrived, she stood in the doorway like she didn't believe I'd really asked her back. She looked exhausted, vulnerable, like someone who'd already accepted she was too late. I invited her in. We sat down, and for the first time in weeks, we really talked. No yelling, no dodging, no pretending. She answered every question I asked. She didn't defend herself. She didn't twist the story. She owned it. Fully, painfully, tearfully. And at one point, I realized something I hadn't expected. I still loved her. Not the perfect image of her. Not the version that used to leave me notes on my windshield. But her. The flawed, scared, hurt human being sitting across from me who'd broken something sacred, and who was finally willing to do the hard, boring, uncomfortable work of healing it. I didn't forgive her that night. Not fully. But I told her I was willing to try. Not because I'm weak. Not because I'm desperate. But because love, real love, isn't about pretending nothing happened. It's about being willing to pick up the pieces. Together, we started therapy that week. She deleted every trace of the affair from her life. She offered transparency, not because I demanded it, but because she wanted to give it. And slowly, something changed. We started laughing again. We started cooking again. We started holding hands without flinching. And now, 6 months later, I can honestly say this. We're not the same couple we were before. We're better. Not perfect, but honest. And that's more than I thought we'd ever have again. If you've made it this far, thank you. Truly. This story wasn't easy to tell, but I know someone out there needed to hear it. Now I want to hear from you. What moment in this story stuck with you the most? Was it the confrontation? The letter? The message from Harrison? Drop your thoughts below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your own confessions in the comments. You've been watching Reddit Confessions, where real stories meet real emotion. Until next time, take care of your heart. It's the only one you've got.